안녕하십니까. 2025 경기국제보트쇼 국제 컨퍼런스 진행을 맡은 고선아입니다. 반갑습니다. 바쁘신 일정에도 불구하고 참석해 주신 여러 연사분들 그리고 참가자분들께 깊은 감사의 말씀 드리겠습니다. 오늘 진행되는 하이테크 세션에서는 글로벌 트렌드와 한국의 기회, 자율주행과 대체 추진기 기술을 중심으로 라는 주제로 발표와 패널 토론이 진행될 예정입니다. 자, 그러면 이제 본격적으로 컨퍼런스를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 자, 그럼 이제 팀 코벤트리님을 무대 위로 모시도록 하겠습니다.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the conference. I'm your conference host, and later will facilitate and moderate an expert panel discussion. The passion to explore new and exciting outdoor activities has established leather boating as a popular and rapidly growing recreational activity for South Korean families. Fishing is a huge influence on the market growth and future. Leisure boat activity in South Korea is the fastest growing market in the Asia region in annual growth percentage terms. It has outpaced many of the largest and most developed international markets in terms of year-on-year percentage increase in activity. There are now over 40,000 registered leisure boats. Boat driver licenses, which is the real measure of the activity, issued so far exceed 340,000, an annual increase of just over 15,000, indicating that leisure boating activity is consistently high and increasing year on year. Korea has a very sophisticated and well-informed consumer. However, markets are changing. How will these changes influence Korea? New technology is an increasing influence in boat buyers' decisions. Korea is a leading player on the world stage in AI and new technology. Today, we're going to hear about global trends in the leisure marine industry and how this is creating opportunities for Korea. Our presenters today will be Mike Derritt, Craig Ritchie, and Do-Young Kim Lim, CEO of Avicus, a new company entering the marine industry and a very exciting one. Avicus is a pioneer in autonomous maritime technology. Founded in 2021 and wholly owned by HD Hyundai, #1 shipbuilder in the world, this highly specialized company has developed and is about to go to market with an international industry first, a first for Korea, first internationally, in the leisure boat autonomous technology, a boat that drives itself if you want it to. They've already been recognized as a leading innovator with highly respected international awards. Their products, in my opinion, will transform the boating experience and I believe will create a significant benchmark in the history of the industry. Our two other speakers, Mike and Craig, are both well-known and highly respected industry journalists who are retained contributors to the industry media platform International Boat Industry, known as IBI. IBI is an industry B2B media specialist. Its purpose is to inform our industry's decision makers. It's the go-to resource for those decision makers for latest news, market intelligence, and comment on the international leisure marine industry. Established more than half a century ago, their purpose is to keep industry connected and to spotlight opportunity. They have more than 50 plus new news stories a week and are hugely active. So, we're now going to commence with the first presentation from Mike Derritt. Mike, will you come up and please join us? Mike's presentation will focus on the changing face of the industry as markets normalized post-COVID pandemic boom. He will cover the reasons for the slowdown and the impact on the industry, and then move to the outlook for 2025. So one part looking back, one part looking forward. Our industry is in transition. Decision makers now have choices: adapt or die. Buyers will look for new features. Price, resale value, and sustainability will be key factors. Brand values will inspire more confidence. Shorter supply chains, vertical integration, smart manufacturing, consolidation will be inevitable, but who will be the winners? Mike, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Tim, for those amazing words that you just mentioned. Tim and I have been friends and business colleagues ever since year 2007, when we came here to help set up the first Korea Boating Festival. So it's good to see some of the contacts I've made over the years here, and some new ones, and some people from overseas. Before we go into the detail on the global boating market, I'd like to tell you a couple of experiences that I've had in Asia over the years that I've been here. By the way, that's a shot in Dubai with the Burj Al Arab in the background. Asians don't like the water. When I first came to Asia, something like 35 years ago, to working on boating industry projects, that's the message I got from a lot of people. But I don't think it's really true. This shot, I'm reliably informed, is in South Korea. But what Asians don't like is the sun. You can see a lot of umbrellas there, can't you? Second story really relates to boating in the connected age. About 8 years ago, I was in Hong Kong and I met two Taiwanese millennials, a young couple that didn't have any money. They had a lot of enthusiasm and they knew how to reach out globally. So what they did, they found on eBay a part-built boat in Seattle in the USA, bearing in mind they're in Hong Kong. They taught themselves basic boat building on YouTube. They taught themselves seamanship and navigation on YouTube, all technology stuff. They went to Vancouver, bought the boat, refitted it over about 2 months, sailed the boat across the Pacific to Taiwan. I mean, what a task. I said, well, how did you navigate? Thinking they'd say compass, sextant, all this stuff that us oldies use. No, we just had a mobile phone and we used the GPS. I said, well, what if it died? What if the battery died? Oh, we had about 3 phones. So that was it. The keenness showed me the advent of the internet, and everything else has brought these people into boating. Across the Pacific, they lived off a fish diet, because being Taiwanese, they love fish. Caught the fish. Okay, that's the 2 stories. 2024 industry review, and where will 2025 take us? Lovely cartoon there. Notice the lightning storm. So, did the sun shine on the industry? Or was it a perfect storm? Well, the reality, I believe, was, or is, back in last year, that what happened was, it was a moderate storm, and we survived it all. So it wasn't a killer storm. Let's just rewind a little bit. What happened during the COVID boom? We had a boom in boating during COVID. Most people in the industry know that. Just rewind to why that happened. 2020 to 22, people couldn't travel. And I remember in 2020 doing a SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threat analysis on the industry, how COVID would affect the industry. All sorts of threats, worries, everything. And there were some opportunities, but the opportunities I missed was the fact that people couldn't travel overseas and they would look inwards and for activities they could do in their own country. And boating boomed. And it boomed in Hong Kong, it boomed in Singapore, it boomed in Dubai. Virtually everywhere across the world it boomed because people couldn't travel overseas. So boat builders thought this is great, and they were caught out because transport was difficult, stock was low. So boat builders, some of them decided to expand as soon as they could expand the factory workforce and everything, geared up and increased production. Boat prices went up because demand was high. And then what happened? Come end of 2023, people could travel again. A lot of people resorted to their old habits. Okay? Now, if you're in the airline business or the hotel business at the moment, you're making money because you probably noticed that all the flights are full, hotels are full. I just came from Dubai 5 days ago. Hotel prices there, you couldn't get a hotel under £300 a night minimum, which is about, what, $400? It's incredible. So, the supply, then what happened? As the market dried up, the supply of components were delayed, supply chain issues were a problem, people were became overstocked with boats. So, it became a buyer's market into 2025. So, let's have a look at just some country examples, what's happened. The French Marine Industry Association represent one of the largest boat manufacturing countries in the world with brands like Beneteau, very big. But, Finn's statistics show that last year sales were down about 25%. And Beneteau recently confirmed that their business is boat sales down by about 30%. Quite a big impact, really. So, let's just have a look at other factors that affect the boat industry. We're in an industry which depends on confidence. You've got to have confidence to spend money on a product that you don't really need. That is a key factor. They're a discretionary purchase. And it's inspired by getting fun on the water. So what happens when things go, not to plan? So the big picture. In Europe, we had a lot of elections in Germany, UK, other countries, Italy, and rise in certain parts of the political right wing, probably. People getting a bit concerned. The middle point, what's going on in Europe. We've got a war going on in Europe, basically, which is pushed it into the new Cold War between the West and, let's face it, Russia. That's a growing concern. In the UK, the Cold War started after the end of Second World War, and it lasted about 1990. And we all learned to live under that shadow, which we did for a long time. Unrest in the Middle East is not great either. So the big picture does affect what happens with the boating industry. Practical challenges for boat builders. During COVID, as you know, a lot of factories had to shut down. Boat manufacturing factories had to close. People were on short time, all sorts of things. And when COVID disappeared, a lot of people's working culture, they got used to being paid to do nothing to some extent. So what we have in the boating industry, we have a global shortage of skilled boat building workers. Here in Korea, thinking ahead, that's being tackled with the EDU training program, which Tim is quite closely involved with. That is a really great initiative. So, but for the global industry, there's a skilled labour shortage virtually everywhere. Have a look at another case study, the United Arab Emirates, which I do know quite well. They've reversed the declining market trend, and it's interesting to note why that is the case. It's turned into currently it's the most favoured country for rich or medium well-off people to go and live. Mainly because of there's virtually no taxation, it's very secure, it's got a business-friendly environment. You can go there and set a business up within a day or two. It's got a strong boat manufacturing sector, which is also quite innovative. That photograph is of the Abu Dhabi Boat Show a year ago. And it's a global hub between East and West. It's got a reasonable climate. It's very, very hot from about July to into September. And that's its one disadvantage. So they're moving ahead quite well with boat manufacturing. You've got 3,000 horsepower sitting on the back of that boat, which was at the Abu Dhabi show. And that boat's about 60 foot long. They go very long distances in the Gulf for sea fishing. And they like their power. They like to do 40 to 60 knots. And one of the companies there, Gulfcraft, quite active in manufacturing. It's grown a lot. That's a Nomad design, and they export that to Australia. On the right is what was termed the world's largest 3D printed boat. And this was actually over a year ago. I saw it at the boat show in Abu Dhabi. 3D printed boat. Apparently it took them 2 weeks to print it. Let's have a look at another market, Poland, in Europe. Poland is still probably the second largest manufacturing country for small boats, i.e. under a 40 foot, second only to the US. And they have been making up to 24,000 boats a year in Poland. That has fallen back quite a lot now to something like by about 40%. A lot of their boats are built under contract for Beneteau, for a lot of other manufacturers. They're built in Poland because they're very competitive there, they're very active industry, has a strong trade association, they do training programs. As the markets turn down, there's an increase in companies there developing their own brands rather than manufacturing for other companies outside of Poland. That's a new company that's started up building catamarans. That was at Drakan, that was at the Dusseldorf Boat Show recently. Let's have a look at another country, Finland. It's got a lot of similarities with Korea. I visited Finland last August, and also last month I went to the Helsinki Boat Show. It's got a large coastline, similar to your coastline here in Korea. Got a lot of islands, a lot of lakes. Fishing is a major activity for the Finnish people, as it is here in Korea. They use small boats. They don't use big boats, really. Big market over 10 meters is very small. They're also very conservative people. They don't display their wealth. And that is I've noticed in my years in Korea, everyone here is quite modest. They don't display their wealth, unlike other countries in Asia. GDP per head is almost the same. So GDP if you're looking at where a boating market's going to develop, it's got to have a GDP of at least 50,000 US dollars per head to get off the ground. Have a peep into the crystal ball, look into the future. Where are the growth markets, in my opinion? Well, the UAE, yes, because that market is going very well. A lot of people are moving there. It's buzzing place. Maybe we'll discuss a bit more during the Q&A session. Saudi Arabia is also a Middle East country, of course. It's got a Red Sea boating market, and the Saudi government is investing a lot of money in building marinas, developing Saudi Arabia, amazingly, as a tourist destination. But the Red Sea is really beautiful. Indian Ocean Island, India. Now, India is a market that I've been visiting for 20 years. It's the world's biggest democracy. It's only got one marina, if you can call it that. And it's got high import tax on boats. Now, the middle class, it's got an over 1 billion population. They're all fairly Western orientated, and they love emulating Western pursuits. So boating is a very interesting subject for India. Now, the reason they can't do it at the moment is getting planning permission to build marinas is difficult because it's the world's biggest democracy, and every local politician doesn't want to offend the fishermen or anything like that because they want to get voted back in again. Now, that's all changed because the government has just decided that it's got to promote tourism as one of its top five priorities. And one of those pillars is marine tourism. So it's all going to happen. The other point is that about the high import duties. That's already been brought down with free trade agreements with certain countries in the Middle East. My guess is that's going to happen with Europe and other places. Indian Ocean islands, very popular, Maldives, Seychelles, and there's some islands off the Indian coast which are virtually unexplored, which are going to be opened up for tourism. South America's a growing sectors, adventure boating sector. And I'll come on to that in the little video I'm going to show you. Marine tourism globally, as I mentioned, is growing. Boat clubs. A lot of people want to go boating, but they don't want to actually have the responsibility of owning the boat. And that is certainly growing. 3 points to take away. The rise of the older adventurer. They travel and explore. Dare I say that I'm an older adventurer, and I think Tim won't be too annoyed with me if I mention that he's an older adventurer as well. So, we've probably got inherited money, etc. But we want to do things comfortably. We don't want to go camping anymore. Younger people are travellers, not tourists. By that, I mean young people don't want to go and sit on a beach so much and get a suntan. They want to go and do activities. They want to understand the culture. And this all relates, of course, to boating. Millennials, they're not buying boats because they're not used to getting dirty. Now, what I mean about that is they don't want to do any cleaning tasks, DIY tasks, etc. on the boat. And also, they're very interested in tech and all the gadgets. And we're going to hear from Craig shortly about those gadgets and where he thinks these are all going. By the way, that's a foiling boat, which is actually manufactured in the UAE. It's an epoxy carbon boat. I've driven it, and it does work. It's very efficient, very futuristic. It's not low cost, but it's got a beautiful ride as well. Concluding. Future promotion of boating. How should we promote boating? In my view, the old style focuses too much emphasis on the product rather than the benefits. So it promotes the product with too much detail. The new style, I believe, and you see it in a lot of other activities, is to tell a story, sell the dream. That's in the boat industry, we are selling a dream reality. In American terms, you would say, sell the sizzle, not the steak. So why do you buy that steak in the restaurant? Because, cool, blimey, that's got my senses going. You sell the sizzle, okay? Not the product. Lastly, think out of the box. What is seen as impractical today can become real in 10 years' time. We never thought 10 years ago there would be self-driving boats, but they're just about here. Craig will refer to that. That is a wing-in-ground effect craft called a WIG, and that's actually manufactured by a Singaporean-based company, and I have flown in it, and it works. Lots of issues on legislation because it's classed as not as an aircraft. It's classed as a boat, as a ship. So the legislation exists, but that's very interesting. That's things like that in the future. It may happen in mass markets. It may not. And I must say thanks to Axopar for allowing us to show that. I would add that Axopar also exhibit here with the Marineland, if you want to see the boats. So I hope you agree this sums up well why people go boating. It depicts boating in Finland with all those lakes, the islands and everything, but it can be the same as in Korea because you have very similar coastlines. The fun is in the journey, being peace with nature and the world. I wish you happy boating. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mike. There's some really interesting and stimulating thoughts in that. There will be an opportunity at the end of the presentations and during the panel session for audience questions to ask Mike and any of the presenters anything that you would like clarified or if you want more information. And we will have time for that, as I say, for audience questions during the panel sessions. Craig, over to you.
Thank you, Tim, and good afternoon. My name is Craig Ritchie. I'm the North America editor with International Boat Industry. And today I'd like to speak with you about some important changes that are taking place in the recreational boat industry. And moreover, I'd like to talk about some of the incredible opportunities that they're presenting for us to grow the industry in ways that we've never seen before. We live in a world of perpetual change, and we've seen a ton of change over the last couple of years. Definitely the COVID-19 pandemic brought about tremendous changes in the way that we do business all over the world. In the aftermath of COVID, we saw further changes. We saw great upheavals in supply chains. We saw upheavals in logistics all around the globe. And that forced us to change the way that we think about obtaining critical components and raw materials. We've seen bouts of high inflation, and as a result, high interest rates that have forced us to rethink inventory management and think about how we go to market with our end user customers. Mike mentioned we've seen changes in governments all around the world. Last year, we saw major elections in critical boating markets all across the planet. I think probably among the most critical of those would be in the United States, where we saw Donald Trump re-elected as president, and he's now embarked on his new agenda of introducing tariffs and trade measures that are going to change our business environment in the months going forward. But, for all the changes that we've seen, there's a really big change coming, And it's way bigger than any of that stuff. It's got nothing to do with politics. It's got nothing to do with COVID, because it's far, far more important. That change is in the demographics of our buyers. For 40 years, the boat industry has focused on selling boats to baby boomers, just like me. But we are no longer the primary force in the market. As we grow old and exit the boat market, it's really the millennials, which are people that were born from 1981 through 1996, who are now forming the core of the boat market all around the world. And there's very good reason for this. Millennials are at a perfect point in their life to buy a boat. They have young families. They're far enough along in life and they're far enough along in their careers that they're no longer saddled by heavy debts. They paid off the student loans long ago. They've either paid off the mortgage on their house or they've paid enough into the mortgage that they now have significant levels of equity, and that enables them to make discretionary purchases, like boats. At the same time that this is happening, they're coming into their prime earning years and they're making more money than they've ever seen in their lives. So this combination of reduced debt load, increased earning, and young families makes them prime candidates to buy boats. Now, along with the millennials, we have another even larger cohort of boat buyers and consumers, and I'm talking about what we call Generation Z, would be people born between 1997 and 2012. Gen Zs are an even bigger cohort of consumers than the millennials. They're younger, but they're also becoming a significant force in the boat market through something called the Great Wealth Transfer. When I was here in 2023, I spoke about the Great Wealth Transfer. And what that is, for people who are unfamiliar with the term, is aging baby boomers like me, dying of old age, and leaving our assets and our money behind to our kids and to our grandchildren. What this is doing is creating instant millionaires, millions and millions of instant millionaires all around the world. And that is enabling the Generation Z demographic to suddenly have the purchasing power that the millennials do. Through inheritance, they're able to buy boats because they no longer have debt, they do have money in their pockets, and they have young families. So all of this amounts to a tremendous opportunity for the boat industry to grow. So how do we seize this opportunity? You know, one of the biggest difference between the baby boomers and the millennials and Gen Zs that form new buyers is the way that they come into the boating market. Baby boomers like me, for the most part, came into the boating market because we grew up in a family that had a boat. Our parents had a boat, our grandparents had a boat, friends, neighbors, somebody had a boat, and we had direct exposure to boating throughout our lives. That's not really the case for the millennials and the Generation Z, partly because there's just so many of them, and they outnumber boomers by such a wide margin. But part of it is behavioral too. More than anything else, young buyers are coming into the boating market through the internet and through social media. On different social media platforms, they see pictures of their friends, or friends of their friends, or complete strangers out having fun in the water in boats, and they think, wow, that looks great. I'd like to try that too. What this means is that these buyers are coming into the boat market without prior experience and without any preconceptions on what boating is. They assume their on-water experience is going to be consistent with the experience they already know in their cars and in their homes. If you remember one thing that I say today, let it be that. Young boat buyers expect consistent experiences between their homes, their cars, and their boats. As an industry, it's up to us to provide that consistency of experience and make boating easy and approachable. So what are they looking for? In a nutshell, young buyers want boats to be automated, and they want them to have automated driving controls, just like their car. If you go buy a car right now, chances are it's going to have an automatic transmission. Because the reality is, people don't want to have to learn how to use a gear shift. They don't want to learn how to have to use a clutch. They just want to get in the car and go. And it's exactly the same with boats. You can go anywhere in the world right now and buy the cheapest car you can find. It's going to come with power steering. But you can go out there and spend 20 times as much money on a boat, and it does not have power steering. That's ridiculous. And that's an example of the things that we need to change. We need to put technology to work to make boats more like cars, to make boats more like our homes, and provide that more consistent experience that the buyers are really looking for. I love this picture, I really do. This is a great example of technology in action. Here we get this guy wake surfing behind his boat. It's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, he's on his surfboard, he's behind the boat, he's surfing away, having a great time. And he's looking at his watch. Does anybody know why this guy is looking at his watch? He's looking at his watch because that's how he's controlling the boat. Now, I want to make it clear, he's not driving the boat. But what he is doing is controlling a whole series of trim tabs and fins and other devices on the boat that impact the quality of the wave that he's surfing on. His smartwatch is connected to the boat on a Wi-Fi network, and by making small adjustments to his watch, he can make the boat wake higher, he can make it lower, he can make it wider, he can push it to this side or that side. He can make all kinds of adjustments to the quality of the wake that he's surfing on with his smartwatch talking to the boat. He's doing that through a technology called, what is it called? Telematics. And telematics is a key technology that we're going to see integrated more and more into boats moving forward. Telematics has been around for years. It got its start in alarm systems. If we think back 25, almost 30 years ago, alarm systems for cars and for boats were very simple. There was an alarm, there was a siren. Someone tried to steal the boat, the siren would go off, we'd hear the sound, we would go and respond. The problem is that doesn't work if you don't hear the siren. And so alarm systems evolved to start sending text messages. They would connect over cellular networks and start sending you a text saying, your boat is moving. Did you authorize this? If not, there might be a theft in progress and you need to investigate. Over time, that level of communication increased to provide functions like remote monitoring. So you could check the fuel level in your boat before you even left the house, and you would know if you had to pick up some gas on the way to the marina. Or if your boat had shore power, you could make sure your batteries were actually being charged and that the big thunderstorm the night before didn't cut out the power at the marina, or somebody walking down the dock didn't trip over the cord and unplug your boat and leave you with dead batteries. Today, telematics is doing so much more than that. Telematics can't just communicate to you. It can communicate to the boat dealer. And it can make your boat ownership experience so much better by looking after things like preventative maintenance. The boat can track its own use. And when it's coming up to time for an oil change, it can contact the boat dealership and say, hey, this boat needs an oil change, we need to schedule this. And with the owner's permission, it can even go ahead and make the appointment and make sure that service happens. Telematics is a two-way communication. So we can use it not just to hear from the boat, but to talk to it as well. If you have a smart boat, to use that phrase, you can operate different things on the boat remotely. For example, if it's a really hot summer day, you're going to go boating. Before you even leave the house, you can call up your boat on your smartphone and you can say, turn on the air conditioning. So when we arrive at the boat, it's nice and cool and we're ready to go. You can turn on the refrigerator so that when you arrive, your food's already nice and cold for you to put the food in there. So there's a ton of things that we can do with telematics. And that extends to different control options, like voice controls or gesture controls. I attended the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and voice controls and gesture controls were tremendous themes at CES. We've had voice controls for many years, and a lot of us are familiar with the little boxes that we can buy and put in our house, and we can say, turn on the lights, and the thing will connect to the lights and turn them on. We have this in our cars too, but we don't have this in boats, and we need to start providing this in order to maintain that consistent experience that buyers are looking for. Here we get the bedroom in a beautiful luxury yacht. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up in the morning, have a nice big stretch, and then say, okay, let's start the coffee maker. And somewhere downstairs in the galley, the smart boat knows to turn on the power and get the coffee going before you've even got out of bed. As you get up to head for the shower, you can just raise your arm and make a gesture with your hand to open the window blinds and let the sun shine in. These are the kind of capabilities we have at home. We're starting to have them in our cars. It's time to have them in boats as well, because again, buyers are looking for them. Autonomous navigation is huge. And this is another critical piece of technology that is going to make boating better, make boating easier, and provide a consistent experience for buyers. Yesterday, my colleagues and I had the privilege of visiting Avicus and seeing some of the tremendous work that they're doing in this field. I'm not going to say too much about it, because I know my friend Mr. Lim here is going to tell you more, and I don't want to step on what he's doing. But the ability to have the boat dock itself or drive itself removes key pain points that prevent people from buying boats now. There have been survey after survey after survey of young people saying, why do you not buy a boat? And consistently they say because they're afraid of docking the boat. They don't want to crash the boat. They don't want to damage somebody else's boat. And moreover, they don't want to wind up in somebody's YouTube video of great boating disasters and be embarrassed for the rest of their life. Sustainability is another area where we can leverage technology to make boating better and again provide a more unified experience between the home, the car, and the boat. One of the areas where we're seeing tremendous advances in this is in electrification. On the propulsion side, electric motors have been improving and getting stronger and developing greater range. And we're starting to see all sorts of applications where they're proving to be one of the best ways to power a boat. On the non-propulsion side, we're seeing electrification start to play a bigger role in powering onboard hotel loads. So powering the kitchen appliances on the boat, powering the heater, powering the air conditioner. We've done this for years with gas-powered generators or diesel-powered generators, and nobody likes them. They make a lot of noise. There's a lot of fumes. Absolutely no one wants to get up in the middle of the night or in the middle of their dinner to go refill a gas tank. But we have to do that now because that's just the nature of how generators work. If we replace those with lithium battery packs, inverters, and solar panels, we can enjoy an experience that's a lot more consistent with what we have at home. And so that's a great application of technology in boats. We're also starting to see sustainability appear in other ways. Seats, for example, are increasingly being made out of plant material instead of fossil fuels. This has been going on in automotive for a couple of years, with BMW and Ford now building car seats out of soybeans. The soybeans are made into a paste, which is baked, and that forms the seat cushions. Soybeans are also used to form the upholstery that goes over top of the cushions. And so what you get is a car that has fully plant-based seats. It's far more sustainable, and it's far more appealing to younger consumers. This again is starting to find its way into boats, and it's another extension of how technology can make boating better and provide a more unified experience between the home and the car and the boat. The application of technology in boating is all about removing pain points and making the onboard experience better. Boat builders need to bring residential comfort and automotive capabilities to boats. The companies that supply boat builders enable them to do this, and they need to take the lead in the application of new technology. So we've talked about a lot of changes. We talked about changes in the world. We've talked about changes in technology. We've talked about changes in the boat buyers. What hasn't changed? When I was here in 2023, I presented a slide very much like this one. And for today, I've got a new updated version of it. What we see here is over a dozen years of value representing the cash value of the recreational boat industry worldwide. This is compiled by our friends in the UK at Straits Research, and it's considered to be the most accurate information available. In 2024, the actual value of the recreational boat industry worldwide was $51.5 billion US dollars. That's not an estimate, that's not a projection, that is actual measured cash value. For 2025, that value is going to increase to almost $54 billion. And as we look ahead to 2033, we're looking at almost $78 billion. That is a 4.7% compound annual growth rate, with year after year steady, continuous growth. There aren't many other industries that can match that. And this is why investment in technology for the boat industry makes so much sense. The returns are definitely there, and the returns are growing all the time. I said at the start, we live in a world of continuous change. And those changes are creating unprecedented opportunities for growth in the boat industry. To embrace these opportunities, we need to step aside and let new technology make boating easier and provide a more unified and consistent experience. We have to remember, more than anything else, buyers want that consistent experience when they step into a boat, and they want ease of use above all else. There's an enormous opportunity ahead of us, and as an industry, it's up to us to embrace that and take advantage of the potential that lies ahead. And that uses up my time. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, kids.
Craig, thank you. As always, interesting, challenging, and very, very informative. We're now going to have our third presentation and our final presentation before the panel session. We're going to welcome to the next presentation Mr. Do-Yong Kim. He's the CEO of Avicus. You've heard his products mentioned already by our two presenters, and you've heard Craig and Mike mention this, and you've heard how important in terms of technology development Craig emphasizes this, and I agree with him. Avicus was founded in 2021. It's a wholly owned company by HD Hyundai, #1 shipbuilder in the world. This highly specialized company has developed and is about to go to market with an international industry first. I repeat that, an international industry first in leisure boat autonomous technology. They haven't yet gone to market, but enough people know about it, and already they've been recognized as a leading innovator by highly respected international awards they've received to date. And those awards don't come lightly or easily. They really measure a fantastic and real achievement. So well done, Avicus. In my belief, and I believe in our panelists' view, Avicus products will transform the boating experience, and I believe will become and will create a significant benchmark in the history of the industry, Those of us who live long enough are going to look back on this introduction of this product, and it's going to be generic. Avicus is going to make a mark in the industry, which is going to take it forward. Very exciting. Congratulations on what you're doing. Keep going. Mr. Lim, over to you.
저는 아비커스 임도영이고요. CEO를 맡고 있습니다. 아비커스는 잘 소개해 주셨지만 HD 현대 세계 1위 조선 회사죠. 조선 회사의 자율운항 전문 자회사고 만든 지 5년이 됐습니다. 저희 회사 기술 간단하게 소개해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 앞에 미스터 크레이그가 잘 설명해 주셨듯이 자율주행 자동차 같은 경우에는 2000년대 초반에 에이다스가 도입이 돼서 탑재율이 지금은 거의 80배에서 90%까지 됐습니다. 잘 아시겠지만 에이다스는 앞차하고의 거리, 그리고 차선 유지, 또 비상정지 이런 기능들을 탑재하고 있고 대부분의 신차에 탑재가 되고 있습니다. 왜냐하면 안전하고 편의 측면에서 충분히 가치를 주는 것으로 검증이 됐고요. 그리고 옆에 그림 보시면 아시겠지만 테슬라가 전 세계 자동차 업체 2위에서 10위를 다 더한 것보다 최근에 주가가 떨어지긴 했지만 시장 가치가 더 높습니다. 그만큼 사람들은 오토노미에 대한 어떤 기대와 어떤 가치를 높게 평가하고 있다는 것을 알 수가 있습니다. 저희가 자율주행 자동차에서 본 기술을 바탕으로 그럼 보트에서 오토노미는 어떻게 될까를 좀 저희가 고민을 해봤습니다. 잘 아시겠지만 자동차에서 검증된 오토노미 기술이 로보틱스라든지 UAM 그리고 건설 장비, 농기계 이런 쪽으로 급격하게 파급이 되고 있습니다. 그리고 선박이나 보트에도 마찬가지고요. 그리고 오토노미 기술이 자동차에 적용되는 데는 20년이 걸렸지만 이미 검증된 기술이고 AI 기술이 하루가 다르게 발전하고 있기 때문에 훨씬 더 빨리 보트에는 적용이 될 걸로 예상이 됩니다. 그렇지만 아직 아시겠지만 레벨 3 자동차를 아직 상용화를 못하고 있듯이 보트에도 레벨 3가 오는 거는 시간이 좀 걸릴 것 같고요. 레벨 1, 2부터 단계적으로 오토노미가 진행될 걸로 예상이 됩니다. 그래서 아비커스는 일단은 레벨 1, 2에 해당되는 제품을 먼저 상용화를 하고 기술도 쌓이고 데이터도 쌓이면 이제 레벨을 높이는 방향으로 사업을 진행하고 있습니다. 그럼 보트 분야에 에이다스에 대한 니즈가 있을 건가? 저희가 좀 조사를 많이 했었습니다. 맥킨지하고 같이 했었는데 보니까 보트는 미국 사람 기준으로 평균 1년에 40시간을 탄다고 합니다. 그러니까 대부분 초보자들이 많고요. 그러다 보니까 그 운전에 대한 두려움이 되게 많습니다. 그래서 또 옆에 보시면 아시겠지만 2시간을 놀기 위해서 5시간을 지루하게 운전을 한다는 이야기를 합니다. 그래서 오토노미에 대한 니즈가 충분하다라는 걸 말씀을 드리고요. 근데 선박의 오토노미, 보트의 오토노미가 쉬울 것 같은데 맞습니다. 똑같은 자동차하고 똑같은 기술이 사용되는 게 맞고요. 인지 판단 제어 기술이 사용되지만 해상 환경에 특별한 부분들이 있습니다. 인지 측면에서 보면 배는 이제 멀리 봐야 됩니다. 브레이크가 없고 관성이 이너시아가 크기 때문에 멀리 봐야 되고 그래서 카메라 비전 센싱 측면에서 좀 어려운 점이 있고요. 레이더를 써야 되고 해서 인지 부분이 좀 다르다고 볼 수가 있고 판단 측면에서 보시면 바다에는 차선이 없습니다. 또 물속도 모르고 하기 때문에 판단 측면에서도 자동차하고는 또 다른 부분이 있습니다. 그리고 마지막으로 잘 아시겠지만 보트는 가만히 있고 싶지만 바람이 불고 파도가 치고 해류가 있으면 가만히 있을 수가 없습니다. 그래서 제어 측면에서도 자동차하고 훨씬 더 어렵다고 볼 수가 있겠습니다. 그래서 자율주행 자동차에 비해서 쉽지 않냐라고 말씀을 하시는데 쉬운 부분도 있습니다. 응답 속도가 늦기 때문에 이제 빨리빨리 대응을 안 해도 되는 측면은 유리하지만 이렇게 이제 인지 판단 제어 측면에서 기술적으로 다르다 하는 것을 말씀을 드리고요. 그래서 이런 부분들을 어떻게 할 것인가, 어떻게 극복할 것인가 하는 것들을 저희가 고민을 많이 하고 있습니다. 예를 들면 해양 데이터가 부족하기 때문에 요즘 많이 이제 각광을 받고 있는 제너레이티브 AI 이런 걸 써가지고 저희가 이제 해상에 빠진 사람이라든지 모터사이클이라든지 이런 것들을 이제 비전 기반으로 인지하는 기술을 개발하고 있고요. 또 해상에 특화된 센서 조합, 예를 들면 라이다를 쓸 건지, 카메라를 몇 개나 쓸 건지, 또 레이더를 어떤 레이더를 쓸 건지 이런 것들 센서 조합을 저희가 많이 고민을 하고 있고, 예를 들면 저희 독 제품은 비전 온리로 이렇게 이제 거리를 추정하는 이런 기술을 가지고 있습니다. 그리고 제어 관련해서는 저희가 이제 다양하게 연구를 하고 있고, 특히 이제 최근에 강화 학습을 써서 오토도킹하는 이런 기술들도 보트에 적용을 하려고 하고 있습니다. 아비커스에 대해서 본격적으로 소개를 드리면 저희 말씀드린 대로 21년에 시작을 했고요. HD 현대 그룹사에서 가지고 있는 자율운항 기술을 다 개성을 해서 저희가 사업을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 지금까지 이제 대형 상선 같은 경우는 600척에 수주를 했고 200척에 이미 설치가 돼서 자율운항을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 이제 현대중공업에서 수주받는 모든 선박에, 그래서 1년에 한 150척 정도 되는데요. 150척에서 200척 정도 되는데 모든 선박에 저희 솔루션이 기본으로 탑재가 됩니다. 저희 연구원이 7명에서 시작했는데 지금 100명 가까이 되고요. 주로 AI 그리고 컴퓨터 비전 제어 연구원이 되겠습니다. 저희는 매우 스케일러블한 기술을 가지고 있습니다. 5m짜리 보트에도 적용 가능하고요. 400m짜리 배에도 저희 기술을 적용을 할 수 있습니다. 그게 저희 장점이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 저희 좀 마일스톤을 좀 소개를 드리면 2021년 6월에 저희가 세계 최초로 포항 운하에서 10km 되는 운하에서 완전 자율운항 테스트를 했었습니다. 네, 카이스트하고 같이 했고요. 국내 보트 업계는 최초로 저희가 이제 보트쇼에도 나갔었고, CES도 나갔었고, 22년에는 저희가 세계 최초로 이제 태평양 횡단을 했었습니다. 미국에서 출발해가지고 한국까지 거의 10,000km 구간을 2주 동안 사람 한 분도 개입 없이 자율운항으로 태평양 횡단을 했었고요. 그래서 저희가 계속 세계 최초 프로젝트를 진행하고 있습니다. 그리고 22년부터 24년까지 매년 저희가 포트 로드데일, 마이애미 보트쇼 혹은 아이벡스 여기서 이제 세계 중에 하나에 저희가 그 자율운항 시연회를 하고 있습니다. 예를 들면 이제 저희 보트에 저희 솔루션을 탑재를 하고 경로 계획, 경로 추종, 충돌 회피, 오토 도킹 이런 테스트를 시연을 계속 주요 고객사, IBI 기자님들을 모시고 테스트를 하고 있습니다. 그리고 저희가 이제 부산시하고 협력을 해서 전기 추진, 자율운항 보트 이런 것들을 같이 작년에는 시연을 했었습니다. 이것도 세계 최초로 저희가 테스트를 한 거고요. 그래서 저희 솔루션은 크게 이제 상선용 솔루션, 레저보트용 솔루션이 있고요. 상선용 솔루션은 오늘 자세하게 말씀을 안 드리겠지만 이제 항해를 위한 솔루션, 이접안을 도와주는 솔루션, 그리고 제어가 안 되는 솔루션, 제어가 되는 솔루션 이렇게 있고요. 말씀드린 대로 이미 600척에 수주해서 큰 상선에서는 이미 많이 사용되고 있다 이렇게 보시면 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 핵심 기술은 비전 센싱, 충돌 회피 이런 기술이 될 것 같고요. 고객을 설문을 조사해 봤더니 한 98%가 대단히 이 솔루션에 대해서 만족한다라는 답을 얻었고, 제일 장점은 뭐냐 하면 최적 운항을 통해서 연료를 5에서 15%까지 절감을 할 수가 있습니다. 이게 되게 의미가 있는 거고요. 단지 연료만 절감하는 게 아니고 기름값만 1년에 한 10억 정도 절감할 수 있는데, 이게 돈만 절감하는 게 아니라 IMO에서 환경 규제가 아주 강하게 들어가고 있습니다. 그래서 연료 15%를 절감하면 환경 규제를 대응을 할 수 있기 때문에 배를 2년 정도 더 쓸 수가 있습니다. 그게 되게 의미가 있는 거고요. 탄소 배출량, 지구도 깨끗하게 만들고, 예를 들면 배를 탈 때 이제 브라질에서 상하이까지 1달 반이 걸립니다. 저희 솔루션을 사용을 하면 1달 반 동안 개입을 한 번도 안 하고 이제 항해를 할 수 있기 때문에 선원 복지에 도움이 됩니다. 그래서 이제 선사 이야기는 선원 채용에 도움이 될 것 같다는 이야기를 많이 하시고요. 그리고 무엇보다도 저희가 이제 센서 5종, 카메라 6개, 레이더 2개, AIS 이렇게 포함해가지고 센서 5종을 저희가 실시간으로 모니터링하기 때문에 안전에 훨씬 도움이 된다. 이런 툴이 없는 거에 비해서 훨씬 도움이 된다 하는 피드백을 받았습니다. 이렇게 말씀드리는 이유는 대형 상선에서 오토노미는 이제 스탠다드로 적용이 되고 있고 이제 이미 검증된 기술로 이래 자리 잡고 있다라는 말씀을 드립니다. 저희가 대형 상선에서 검증된 기술을 그대로 보트로 가지고 왔습니다. 그래서 이름은 뉴보트라고 이름을 지었고요. 뉴보트는 보트의 뉴런이 되겠다 이런 의미를 가지고 있고요. 저희가 2월 달에 있었던 마이애미 보트쇼 미국에 있었는데요. 거기서 이제 저희가 혁신상을 일렉트릭 분야에서 혁신상을 받았습니다. 저희가 이제 프로세스 포함해 가지고 MFD에 연결하는 게이트웨이 그리고 엔진 제어에 연결된 게이트웨이가 있고 선박 주변에 서라운드 뷰를 보기 위한 카메라가 설치되고 전방용 카메라, 라이다 이렇게 이제 하드웨어가 구성됩니다. UI는 이런 모습이고요. 그래서 저희가 보트의 자율 기술을 어떻게 적용할까 하는 내용들을 이제 맥킨지하고 좀 인텐시브하게 유저 스터디를 했었습니다. 그래서 뭐 고객 조사를 해보면 보트 출발할 때부터 도착할 때까지 어떤 니즈가 가장 많은지 몇 가지 소개를 드리면 경로 계획할 때 내가 옛날에 갔던 길 한 번 더 갔으면 좋겠다. 아니면 뭐 내가 초보자다 보니까 어디가 군사 구역이고 어디가 물고기 이제 어로가 있어서 못 들어가는 구역이다. 이런 부분들을 좀 잘 알려줬으면 좋겠다 하는 니즈가 있었고요. 그래서 저희 제품에 해당 내용을 반영했습니다. 그리고 배가 크다 보니까 배 앞부분이라든지 좀 사각지대가 너무 많다. 잘 봤으면 좋겠다 하는 니즈가 있었고 또 물속을 봤으면 좋겠다 하는 부분이 있어서 저희가 제품 기획에 반영을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 지루하게 운전할 때 앞에 자동으로 견시를 카메라 기반으로 했으면 좋겠다 하는 기능가 있고 또 특히 사람이 빠졌을 때 탐지를 했으면 좋겠다 하는 것들을 니즈가 있어서 저희 제품에 비전 센싱 기능을 반영을 했고요. 그리고 충돌 회피 콜레그라는 룰이 있고 한데 어떻게 충돌 회피를 해야 될지 잘 모르겠다. 그걸 직관적으로 좀 알려줬으면 좋겠다 하는 니즈가 있었습니다. 그런 내용들을 반영을 했고 무엇보다도 내가 주차할 때 도킹할 때 남은 구간이 얼마나 되는지 아니면 자동으로 또 도킹을 한다든지 이런 기능들이 있으면 좋겠다는 니즈가 가장 많았습니다. 그래서 저희가 이런 부분들을 좀 중점적으로 개발을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 무엇보다도 이제 자동차도 마찬가지인데요. 에이다스가 처음 나왔을 때 인더스트리에서 이게 사람이 운전할 때 그리고 시스템이 운전할 때 이때 기능 안전에 대한 우려가 상당히 많았고 업계에서 한 10년 정도 같이 연구를 해서 ISO 26262 같은 어떤 기능 안전 관련된 스탠다드를 만들었고 그게 시스템에 표준적으로 적용되고 있습니다. 그래서 근데 저희가 이제 에이다스를 처음 하는 입장에서 이런 인더스트리 스탠다드가 필요하다고 느끼고 있고 그래서 자체적으로 스탠다드를 개발을 하고 있고 이 부분은 ISO에도 제한 예정이고 ABYC하고도 같이 협력을 해나가고 있습니다. 저희도 ABYC 회원이고요. 같이 협력을 해나갈 예정입니다. 그래서 제 생각에는 에이다스를 개발하는 데 있어서 이런 부분들이 되게 중요할 거라고 생각을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 저희 제품은 아까 말씀드린 대로 CES 혁신상도 받았고요. 레드닷 올해 또 AF 디자인상도 저희가 받았고 또 마이애미 보트쇼 혁신상도 받았습니다. 그래서 업계에서 서서히 저희가 이제 인정을 받고 있는 것 같습니다. 저희 제품은 크게 이제 도킹을 도와주는 솔루션인 뉴보트 독이 있고요. 그리고 항해를 도와주는 솔루션인 뉴보트 내비가 있습니다. 사실 엔진하고 인테그레이션이 안 돼서 이제 시츄에이셔널 어웨어니스 정도만 주는 그 모듈이라고 생각하시면 될 것 같습니다. 근데 저희 제품은 테슬라처럼 옆에 이제 3D 클러스터로 직관적으로 배의 상황을 알 수가 있고요. 독 같은 경우에는 3D 서라운드 뷰입니다. 직관적으로 사각지대도 이렇게 돌려볼 수 있는 그런 장점이 있고요. 내비 같은 경우는 앞에 장애물이 나타나면 라이다로 전방 250m까지 이제 장애물을 탐지를 해서 알람을 띄워주는 그런 장비가 되겠습니다. 그리고 이제 경로 계획이 가능하고요. 그리고 이제 엔진하고 인터페이스가 되면 이제 오토 기능이 활성화될 수가 있습니다. 저희는 이제 뉴보트 컨트롤이라는 제품으로 이제 묶어서 팔고 있는데요. 아시겠지만 경로 계획되고 경로를 추종하고 가다가 배가 있으면 잠시 속도를 멈추고 앞에 좁은 길에서 앞에 지나가는 보트가 있으면 따라가는 이제 오토 크루징 기능이 있습니다. 그 오토 크루징 기능이 있고 그리고 어댑티브 크루징 기능이 있고 이제 오토 도킹 기능이 있습니다. 오토 독 같은 경우에는 마리나 와서 내가 원하는 위치를 누르면 후방으로 자동으로 주차하는 도킹하는 그런 기능이 있습니다. 그래서 저희 기능은 아까 말씀드린 이제 루트 팔로잉, 콜리전, 모이던스, 오토도킹 이런 기능이고요. 저희 UI 잠깐 보여드리면 그리고 스타트를 누르면 이렇게 이제 경로를 따라가게 됩니다. 왼쪽에는 3D 클러스터가 있고요. 오른쪽에는 카메라 화면을 볼 수도 있고 차트를 볼 수도 있습니다. 내가 어디로 가고 하는지 이제 맵을 볼 수가 있고 앞에 장애물이 나타나면 아까 보셨겠지만 이제 직관적으로 알 수 있도록 장애물을 보여줍니다. 그리고 이제 충돌 위험도에 따라서 충돌 위험도가 높으면 빨간색, 아니면 뭐 경고는 노란색, 아니면 초록색 이렇게 보여주고요. 저희 좀 기다렸다가 보트를 하나 보내보겠습니다. 보내면은 이제 이렇게 이제 인지가 되고 여기서는 추월을 할 수 없기 때문에 저희가 이제 저 배를 따라가는 기능이 활성화돼서 이제 따라가는 것을 알 수가 있습니다. 쭉 따라 밑에 파란 길이 이제 저희가 플랜드 루트입니다. 플랜드 루트를 쭉 따라가게 되고 마리나에 와서는 내가 원하는 위치에 이렇게 오토 도킹을 하게 됩니다. 오토 도킹을 할 때는 내가 돌려가 보면서 이 배가 오토 도킹을 잘 하고 있는지 하는 것들을 계속 견실을 모니터링을 할 수가 있습니다. 마지막으로 이런 이제 시연회를 저희가 3년째 계속 하고 있고요. 저희 이제 그 시연회에 참석하셨던 두 분의 좀 인터뷰를 저희가 좀 땄습니다. 그래서 짧게 한번 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
My name is Kim Swears. I'm the managing partner of FB Marine Group in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I was just on the Sea Ray powered by Mercury's with the Avicus system, and I was totally blown away at the experience. One thing that I deal with as a female business owner is also there's a lot of women boaters that are concerned about getting into boating, and this offers that safety and that security, and it breaks down the barriers of boating for everybody.
저분은
I'm
유명한
Ken Clinton,
딜러시고요.
president of Intrepid Powerboats. I've been with Intrepid for almost 33 years now and watched the evolution in the marine industry of technology throughout all these years. And this is a real big leap forward for boating. And to Kim's point, the biggest thing with boating for people that don't boat is the intimidation factor. And the test that I just did takes away that intimidation, and it shows people that anybody can participate in boating.
방금 그분은
My favorite part was the collision aversion. I thought that was a really great feature because sometimes in boating you're not paying attention. Boat comes up within your vicinity and the system just veered off to the right. I love that.
For me, it was docking. Docking can be such a stressful thing when you put yourself behind the helm, and depending on the conditions, this is a system that not only measures current, wind speed, and the barriers around the boat, it determines the right thing via AI and makes all the right choices for you. And I was really impressed with what I saw.
Well, for me, it's all about safety. People, in South Florida, we have, the South Florida lifestyle. Sometimes you might have a cocktail and you're on the boat or you're distracted, and this gives you the 100% assurance that you're getting home safe.
It's growing boating. I have over 400 employees that feed their family from building boats. So everything that we can do to bring people into boating. And once people are into boating and you're able to take away that intimidation factor, once somebody becomes a boater, they're locked in for life because there's nothing better than being on the water.
네. 한 분은 딜러시고 한 분은 또 보트 회사 회장님이세요. 그래서 좀 요약을 했습니다. 보트 자동차는 이미 이제 안전이나 편의 측면에서 검증이 됐기 때문에 오토노미가 대부분의 신차에 탑재가 되고 있고 보트에도 생각보다 훨씬 빨리 적용이 될 것 같습니다. 그리고 주로 이제 쓰는 거 보니까 멀리 갈 때 지루한 길에 2시간 놀기 위해서 5시간 운전할 때 보트를 쓸 것 같다. 그리고 이제 안전 측면에서 보트가 크게 도움이 될 것 같고 또 특히 도킹에 많이 도움이 될 것 같다는 거고요. 미국 사람들의 15%가 보트를 즐기는데 설문조사를 해보니까 80%가 보팅을 원한답니다. 그래서 누구나 보트를 원하는데 이 물에 대한 두려움이라든지 자격증이라든지 이런 이제 배리어가 있는데 이런 기술이 그런 보트 인구 자체를 늘리는 데 도움이 될 거다라고 평가가 되고 있고요. 그리고 오토노미라는 기술이 이제 자동차에도 마찬가지고 일단 AI 기반의 어떤 유용성이 검증이 되면 자율운항 보트는 생각보다 훨씬 빨리 인더스트리 표준으로 자리 잡을 거라고 생각이 됩니다. 그래서 이제 인더스트리도 여기에 대한 어떤 준비가 필요한 것 같다. 그래서 이제 같이 경쟁보다는 협력을 통해서 자율운항 혹은 에이다스 보트 에이다스에 대한 어떤 준비를 할 필요가 있다라고 생각을 합니다. 저희는 이제 20년 사업을 시작해가지고 22년에 자율운항 상선에 대한 이제 사업을 시작을 했고 레저보트 같은 경우에는 2024년부터 이제 실제 시장에 팔고 있습니다. 그리고 26년부터는 저희가 이제 서비스 위주로 하려고 하고 있고 장기적으로는 모빌리티 사업까지 확장해 나갈 예정입니다. 네, 이상으로 발표를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.
I could listen to that sort of a presentation way into the night. It was just fantastic. It was interesting and very clever stuff. Well thought through, well presented. Thank you very much. I've given up buying cars. I'm 84 now, and I was an absolute petrol head and a car enthusiast. The reason I've given up buying them is that the last 2 cars I bought, it took nearly 4 hours to hand them over to me. I couldn't even remember a tenth of what the features were. And you know what? I paid a hell of a lot of money for things that I never used and didn't need. Love the cars to drive. The driving experience was great. The thing that I like about the presentation that we've just heard is that you're really paying attention to simplicity, user-friendliness, and all those sort of things. And you know, isn't that the success of the mobile phone? That mobile phones now are intuitive, they're easy to use, dangerous because they're accessible and kids can use them, but it's now a part of our life. I think that what you've just presented is going to become a serious part of boating life. So we're now ready to start the panel session. Could I ask the presenters, please, to come back onto the stage and join me? We're going to make you work quite hard. So could I first ask Alec Young Kim, Pretech, to join me? Alec and I have known each other for some years. He will tell you what his company does, but I want to tell you what he's doing now, which is extremely valuable, and as a volunteer. Alec is a founding participant in the successful formation of the new Korean Leisure Marine Industry Association, KMIA. This is now a full member of ICOMIA, the World Organization of all marine industry federations. And the great news for Korean businesses is that it opens a door now to international industry partners, organizations like NMMA, which Craig mentioned briefly. They're unique because they're big, they have a lot of money, they're lucky, and they use that money on research for industry, and they're very generous about how they share that industry knowledge. So again, Alec, thank you. I'd also like to ask now Silky Lee, Pharos Marine, to join me, please. Silky's company is a relatively new startup. He'll tell you about it. But the interesting thing is that, again, it's Korea going in a world-leading way, going into new technology. And he'll tell you that what he's doing is a first in the industry, which is hydrogen cell-powered engines. And everybody talks about hydrogen. He's the guy that's actually doing something and is into the market now with a hydrogen cell-powered outboard engine. Well done and congratulations. And finally, could I please ask Professor Suwon Kim of Sejong University to join us? This is an interesting guy. He spends his life worrying about and studying AI robotics. You may well ask, well, what's that got to do with the marine industry? It's got a lot, and he's going to tell you all about that. So you've heard from the presenters. I'm now going to ask the panelists just to very briefly take a couple of minutes to explain what your company does and its relevance to the leisure marine industry. And Professor Kim, could we start with you, please?
Our university, especially my department, working on to research to develop some autonomous navigation and the planning. What the Avicus, the CEO, the Do-young Lim says before. So we are working on to how can the AI algorithm to more the boating the easily and safely, especially the adopting the new technology to like implementing that into the some boat control algorithm. And I believe that we change the market more the safely and efficiently by using that kinds of the algorithm. Thank you.
Thank you. Alec, would you like to tell us and the audience who don't know you as well as I do what your company is and what you're doing?
Pretech Marine is we're over 25 years old, and we have distributors over 60 countries. We manufacture about 50,000 steering systems all over the world, supply every boat builders in the world. Or one of our largest customers is Veneto in France. And then we are just started to develop our electric steering systems and electric propulsion engines, outboard engine. So we're trying to expand everything electric control levers. Like Craig, you told me, we just came out with the power steerings using automobile technology. First prototypes product is in display right here. Is our official launching in KIBS. So this is what we do. We're the steering guys. Now we're adding engines. So we hope that we can go into electric more and more and try to gain more market share as this in a very fierce competitive market. That's what we do.
And Suki, would you like to now tell us about your company?
Okay. My name is Silgi Lee, founder and CEO of Faros Marine. The Faros Marine is a small startup based on Ulsan area, and it's been 4 years. We have been developing new electric propulsion system for small boats and yachts. And we have a small booth over there, and you can see our rim-driven thruster. So there are several companies in Europe where produce rim-driven thruster, but this is kind of Korean first rim-driven thruster propulsion system. And also we have been developing some hydrogen-based propulsion system that world first hydrogen outboard. And I guess next year you can see our world first hydrogen outboard system here in this event. Thank you so much.
Alec, I'm going to come back to you. I was an early adopter of an electric car, and I've just sold it. And I spent most of my time suffering, like everyone does, with range anxiety. What's your view, and how are you approaching that issue in terms of the electrification that you're doing?
3 years ago, I think we started to get a lot of interest on electric propulsions. And then, slowly kind of not dying, but, gradually losing interest in electric propulsion-wise, I guess because of the price is one of the main factor that is not picking up the sales and market share. So what we are trying to do here with my company is to bring down the cost of manufacturing electric propulsions. So this is one, because basically at the end, electric has to compete against gasoline outboard engines. Consumers so used to paying $10,000 for the outboard engines compared to $40,000, $50,000 of electric propulsion. So, the market trend is when you look at the Tesla. When it came out, it was really expensive, so it did not have a very strong market share. But once you start to, produce more and then trend on the people are more open to the electric market. I think same as here in the boating side too. We just need to have manufacturing costs. That's not my job to bring it down as much as possible and begin to get it into market. And that's the only way the electric side will be able to survive in near future. With the product like Avicus, will be a great a product to be in combination with electric propulsions, because the docking is one of the major headache, and then like electric propulsion will be much easier in terms of integrations. So this kind of innovative products never seen before, but it was already existed in the automobile industry, and we can bring it to our industry to make it something more affordable to buy and manufacture. Things will be much, and it will beginning to turn around. And my personal opinion is starting 26. I think the more interest and demand will slowly go up, because the cost was going to come down. And my goal is to bring you as much as possible from automobile side technology and products applied to marine, and then it will turn the tide. That's my kind of demand. I mean, kind of my hope and forecast of electric propulsions.
Alec, as vice president now of KMIA, you're now going to have, and I know you attend the meetings, but you're now going to have full access to some of the brilliant stuff that ICOMIA is doing. And Mike, you and I were discussing that last night, and this propelling our future. Just want to comment on that, Mike, because some really fascinating statistics came out of that, didn't they, about the hours of boat use, and which will be great news for you guys looking into alternative power. Mike, can you share that?
Hi, Tim. Thanks. Yeah, the quick answer to that, the ICOMIA analysis came out with between 30 to 40 hours per year was the average boat use.
Leisure boat use.
Across the, I think that was across the globe that they came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that when I saw that report, which we saw at the ICOMIA Congress last year, I was stunned. And then when I thought about how much I use my boat, it was sort of about right. And they'd done it across a scale of use. And yes, of course, commercial boats are used for much longer hours, but leisure boating is the biggest proportion of all of the boat. I mean, Craig, you probably know what's the number of leisure boats now just in the United States? You were giving stats and numbers.
Well, that's good, Tim. Now I'm trying to remember. You put me on the spot here. In the United States, the number of pleasure boats, if I remember this right, was about 4.5 million boats in the water.
Yeah.
Worldwide, I know we're sitting at somewhere around 40 million. But that would include a lot of boats that are partially used, at least commercially.
And the great thing about alternative powers, and particularly, I know electric, we could argue about whether it's a factor or not. But you know what? It's clean, it's low maintenance, and it's low energy consumption in terms of what actually the average leisure boat's going to do. So really, the range anxiety is only going to be a problem for the commercial users, not for the leisure boat users. That's the reality, isn't it? Which is great news. Anybody from the panel want to comment on that as well?
I would say, yeah. I mean, and I'll correct myself, 24 million was the correct total.
Yeah.
It really comes down to how we use the boat. And boats are very different and very diverse. And we walk through here and we see all different types of boats for different types of uses and applications. One of the things that comes out in any discussion about range anxiety is the way that we talk about electric boats. And we like to say, this boat will run for an hour at full throttle. And the reality is nobody drives their boat at full throttle all the time. One of the things that came out of that ICOMIA study, if you dig into the details, was that people vastly overestimate the amount of time they're actually using the boat. And so they'll go boating all day long. They'll be out there for 12 hours. But in terms of driving the engine, they're out for about 25 minutes to drive to their spot. And then they put down the anchor and shut off the motor, and they spend the rest of the day sitting on the sandbar, going for a swim, having lunch, and then they only start the motor again at the end of the day to go home. So they might be out there 12 hours, but less than an hour of that time is actually running the motor. And even if they did run it at full throttle, they'd still be in fine shape. If you reduce your speed by even 20%, you more than or almost double the time. So I think part of it is understanding exactly how we are using our boats and appreciating that maybe we do tend to overestimate that sometimes.
Craig, in your presentation, you made a very attractive picture of what boating could be like in the future. To all the panel, how close are we to that in reality? How close are we going to be to getting all of those things that I'd love to see on a boat? I'd love to wake up in the morning in a boat and say, make the coffee or turn the heating up and down. Voice control and all those things. How far away are we from that? Panel, please tell me. And who wants to speak to that?
So actually, some technology can support that kind of some save some boat users consuming more like satisfaction during the riding on boat. Like just for example, so there are some effort to invent that kind technology, support some decent time boat users have some good experience. For example, like the AI take its control and give more time to like enjoy their time to navigate or position keeping or control automatically all the device of the boat and some maintenance, reduce the maintenance time by the people. That is technology that can support the people's experience.
That's a massive step forward, because you have provided the means of achieving that. He's working on the AI to actually make that safe and to make it's what I simply call journey plotting, journey planning. And that's going to be a massive breakthrough in terms of user friendliness and safety. How far away are you from that in terms of years? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Actually, the Avicus already invent that, but after definitely within the 5 years, yeah, that could be possible. It becomes more user, I think. Yeah.
Do you want to comment on that?
제 발표에도 말씀드렸지만 자동차에서 20년이 걸렸지만 기술의 발전 속도라든지 이미 검증된 기술이기 때문에 사용자들의 어떤 기술에 대한 거부감 이런 부분들이 훨씬 더 적기 때문에 보트에서 적용되는 것은 자동차 20년보다는 훨씬 더 적게 걸릴 거고 이미 이제 저희가 레벨 1, 2에 해당되는 솔루션을 이제 시장에 내놨고요. 이게 이제 검증이 되면 저는 아까 5년을 말씀하셨는데 그거보다도 훨씬 더 빨리 레벨 ADAS는 시장에 보급이 될 거라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 뭐 less than 3?
What I would like to see in my next boat will be new boat. You know, I know we talk a lot about the Avicus technology today, but it really is a game changer in how it opens the market to people.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, a lot of people are afraid of docking the boat. They're terrified of crashing into somebody else's boat or just embarrassing themselves by making a silly mistake. And this type of a technology eliminates any potential for that whatsoever. I have to be honest with you, I was very skeptical. When I first learned about New Boat at the CES show a couple of years ago, I'm reading this material and I'm thinking, well, it sounds great, but I wonder if it really works. shortly afterwards, a couple of months later, I had the opportunity to go and find out. And Tim, I've been driving boats for 50 years, and I feel pretty comfortable behind the wheel of a boat. We were at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and we were going to do a demonstration of the automatic docking capability. The dock was on a river with the current coming down this way. The tide was coming in going this way, and it was a windy morning. Probably the most difficult conditions you could imagine. And as an experienced boater, I'm looking at this going, boy, there's a lot of people standing on the dock and there's a lot of people with me in the boat. I'm glad I'm not behind the wheel. And to credit, the Avicus new boat came in and put us right up next to the dock, close enough that you could have spanned the distance between the boat and the dock with a cell phone. And it did it first time right away, not a problem. And I was very relieved that that was in the boat. So
I mean, I know you said to me when we were talking about it shortly after you'd done it that you were convinced that there was a person hiding in a cupboard somewhere down below in the boat actually really driving it. Because not only did it do that, but the thing that takes years to learn is the anticipation of boat traffic, where, you know, when that happened, what I would have expected is stop, go, jerk, changing direction, stopping. You said it was seamlessly smooth, and it was probably the most skilled driving of a boat that you'd ever experienced, you know, almost to your level.
It far surpassed my level, Tim. And it's true, I really did believe that there was some kind of remote control here. There was a little man hiding under the counter or something. What really impressed me about the system, when we were navigating out in the open harbor, at one point it detected an object in the water as a possible hazard. And we went over to see what it was, and it was a water bottle that had fallen off somebody's boat. And this obstacle was, the part that was sticking out of the water was smaller than my hand, but it picked it up from a considerable distance, and it warned us that there was a potential hazard. That was amazing. I couldn't even see the bottle.
Alec, the life and soul of your company is boat control systems. What have you got to contribute to this?
We have two new items that we're working on right now. It's been, you know, we already have it. Everybody has it. It's a car with, you know, without a key ignitions. So we're gonna apply it to our electric steering systems, electric engines. Same thing, wireless, remote key. You push the button, you turn the engine on. So it's very simple technology. It's already proven. And then only thing we probably have to do is just waterproof and corrosion. And that's very simple, but it never seen it yet in the boating side. And we are coming out within probably about 8 or 9 months from now.
Wow.
And then other items that we're looking at is, since we built the power steerings, we're gonna have a wireless remote control. So like one guy going out to bass fishing, he wants to turn the boat around. He doesn't have to go to the steering wheel. He can go at the tip of the boat and push the button with his remote, and it's gonna turn. So that's already been around the technology, you know. It never really applied to the marine side, and now because of power steering, it's a lot smoother. Before it was doing by hydraulics or mechanical, you have to turn, so, you know, boat was not moving smoothly or precisely in the position that you wanted. But with this remote control, it will be wireless, and with the control that we do with the power steering connections, it's going to be very smooth. This is very simple technology, but, you know, I think it will be innovative products. This is something that we are working on, and it's not going to take that long. It will be pretty quick within this year. We're going to come up with it.
Mike, you wanted to.
Yes, I'm not an expert like Craig or the other gentleman here on the autonomous driving or anything, but I suddenly realised something. If you're driving a boat or flying an airplane, I'm also a pilot, so I fly and teach flying. There's one important thing that you have to keep in mind and develop, and that's situational awareness. So I think one of the major things that the benefits of this is not the fact that the boat can drive itself and park itself and whatever. It's actually going to provide you with situational awareness, which is vital. What's going on around you, and the technology is doing that. So that, I all had just realised that all of a sudden, and had come back on the use of boats, average time 30, 40 hours a year. Interestingly, that's very similar to the average flight time that a light aircraft pilot does a year. So situational awareness, I think, is going to be a fantastic benefit to safety.
What about hydrogen cell energy? Where's that going to go?
I personally totally agree with Mr. Kim's opinion, and regardless of hydrogen, for example, the hydrogen can be an alternative fuel for clean propulsion system for small boats and yachts. But I think the technology is ready. For example, as he mentioned, we can easily find all those technology like automotive technology or electric propulsion technology on automotive industry. So what we can do is just apply the similar technology from that industry to our boats. But I personally think the real problem, the difficulties that I face is to have that attitude. For example, those boat owners, they don't easily accept new technologies. They are all known as like conservative for new technologies. So I think the most important thing is to have some open-minded to face new technology and to share the information with other people, to let the technology can be shared in the industry. And the hydrogen, for example, hydrogen side is also kind of technology like clean fuel related technology. So regardless of the hydrogen or electric battery or ammonia, whatever else, we need to have the kind of attitude to adopt new technology to make it advanced, to make the industry to pursue sustainable marine energy ecosystem on this industry.
And of course, cost is going to be a big factor in this, because what I'm hearing is that the technology is all capable, it can be developed, but what impact is that going to have on the boat buyer, the people that you were talking about, Craig, which was they've all got lots of money. My experience of my millennials is that they do have money, but they spend it very carefully. And so how does this translate into delivering value and not meaning that a boat that's costing, you gave those numbers. I wonder how much of those numbers was price escalation rather than actual boat sales.
You know, value is an interesting word because we all value things in different ways. When we walked over to Kintex this morning from the hotel, I saw 3 or 4 Mercedes-Benz. I lost count of how many BMWs I saw.
And some Porsches.
I saw several Porsches and at least one Audi R8. An Audi R8 costs a whole lot more money than an economy car, but people will buy it because they value the experience that gives them. People can look at a really at home furnishings that are really cheap, or they can spend a ton of money for really fancy, for fancy things. If we look at a boat, if we try to make a business case for owning a boat, it's going to fail miserably, because if you look at the cost of owning a boat and you think how many hours are you going to use it, does it make sense? No. But you look at the time that you spend on it and how important that time is and what that means to you and your family, and all of a sudden it makes all the sense in the world. It's like a nice vacation is an impossible thing to justify. You're going to go somewhere for a week and spend a fortune. It doesn't make sense. But we do it because it brings us value, and it gives us something back that far exceeds what the cost is. Technology is like that. Alec Kim, you've got power steering. I want to talk to you because I would love to have power steering in my boat. I don't like sitting there and turning the wheel 25 times and nothing happens. I would value that. Sure, I would pay more for that in a heartbeat because that means something to me, and it brings me a value that so far exceeds the cost. It's not even a consideration.
We've talked quite a lot about millennials and Gen Zers. When I first started my life in the boat industry, and Mike will share this experience, you went to a boat show, and it wasn't the man buying the boat, it was a man and a woman buying the boat. And the first thing that they did is climb on board the boat. They didn't look at the hull or the engines or the look. The first thing they did was got on board, went straight down below and looked at the accommodation. As boating has developed, that's sort of changed because I think the purchases have been more male dominated. How do we think the new market is going to be impacted by the wives and the partners in the family? And what's the industry got to do to actually make sure that that ticks the box? Because what I see in my family, who are millennials, is that the wives have babies. The husbands are now so involved with the babies that if they could breastfeed them, they would. It's a completely different era. Women's views and women's opinions now are becoming really, really a valued part of the family life. How do we think that boats and new technology is going to appeal to the person who really makes the decision in the family?
I personally believe it's our own duty to make this kind of technology more easy so that it can be allowed to everybody who are interested in this kind of boating. So still at this moment, it's quite difficult to maintain the engine or to maintain the whole boat or yachts. So I personally believe the technology can help to make it more easy. So I believe the Avicus and other companies also can help us to make the boating more allowable and easy.
Anybody else want to comment on that?
I think a lot of the technology we're talking about right now, the benefits that it brings to the market have a universal appeal. And I don't think that it's something, I don't think we're in a situation where we're bringing technology to the market to make a boat more appealing to a woman or to a man or to to a dog with floppy ears. I don't think it makes a difference. I think we're talking about things that have such a universal appeal that anybody can see the value in them and would want them.
Anybody in the audience want to ask member of the panel a question?
Hi, it's Susie Raymond, Asia Yacht Press. I'd like to ask the panel, it's quite exciting learning about these new technologies and AI, but how reliable are these technologies is my first question. And the second one is, how does the human factor fit in with all of this? What do boaters do now if they don't have to dock or drive? Do they just sit around and drink?
Who wants to take that on? Mike?
Susie. Susie and I have known each other for some time, and thank you for that very interesting question. I was thinking through this, the Avicus system, self-driving, etc. I think what that will do, it will expand the market, makes driving the boat easier, plus the situational awareness thing is going to help a lot. I mean, there's experienced boaters like yourself who don't need it, right? So the people who are not so good, this will expand the market. Now, the real expansion, in my opinion, is going to come when you don't need to have a licensed skipper on that boat. When some people who like the idea of boating, don't want to do a course, don't know, right, will be able to get on that boat, and the boat legally, the legislation-wise, can operate. Now, that is a very interesting question, and I think my colleague here from Korea might want to comment on that one.
저희 시스템은 이제 무인 시스템이나 자율 시스템은 아니고요. 자동차처럼 이제 자동차 ADAS하고 같은 개념이라고 보시면 될 것 같아요. 아직 완전 자율 시스템이 아니기 때문에 레벨 2 시스템이기 때문에 사람을 도와주는 시스템이고요. 사람하고 인터페이스가 되게 중요합니다. 사람이 운전할 때는 네가 운전하고 있어. 그리고 또 사람이 제어권을 넘겼을 때는 내가 운전하고 있어 하는 책임에 대한 소재가 명확하게 돼야 되고요. 그런 유저 인터페이스 부분을 저희는 이제 인간공학을 전공하신 분이 같이 소비자하고 이야기를 해서 개발을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 두 번째 세이프티 관련된 부분은 정말 중요한 부분이고요. 내가 만약에 제어를 하다가 제어권을 잃었을 때 어떻게 할 거냐. 뭐 예를 들면 옆에 세워가지고 정지를 할 건지 아니면 이제 제어권을 넘겨줄 건지 이런 부분들은 자동차에서 오래 연구한 부분들이 있고 그게 업계 표준으로 자리 잡아 있고 저희도 솔루션을 개발할 때 자동차 업체 쪽에서 했던 부분들을 참조해서 개발을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 좀 세이프티나 이런 부분들, 휴먼 인터페이스 이런 부분들은 크게 걱정 안 하셔도 될 것 같고요. 저희 부스 오시면 저희가 또 상세하게 설명드리도록 하겠습니다.
If I can speak to the second part of that, Susie, in terms of, well, who would want that? Who wants to have a machine drive the boat for them? Well, I would. In the presentation I made, I had a picture up there of two couples sitting in the front of the boat, out in the sunshine. They've got a drink in their hand. They're enjoying the day. And in that picture, there's nobody behind them driving the boat. That boat's doing its own thing. And one of the things that I found when my son was growing up, we'd go fishing. And so here's the old man driving the boat. And here's my son and the rest of the family out in the back of the boat in the cockpit, having a great time. And I'm sitting up front, the designated driver. I'm not out there having a great time, I'm the chauffeur. And that's not what boating is all about. Boating is about spending our time together with our friends and our families, and we all want to do that. And this enables that to happen in a way that we haven't had happen before. The other nice thing I like about it, if we all go out for dinner, then the driver decides to have another glass of wine that maybe might not have been a good idea, I know I'm going to be able to get home okay, because I know the boat hasn't had a drop.
Alec, I know you want to say something on this.
I think you talk about the product reliability with the new technology. Basically, ABYC and the manufacturer standpoint of view, the standard procedure is, for example, steering systems. Minimum requirement is 100,000 cycles. But as a manufacturer, we're not comfortable with 100,000 cycle. So we go up to 3 times 300,000 cycle or even 500,000 cycle. Make sure we pass that test. Because 500,000 cycle, 300,000 cycle, you usually don't use that boat that much. But we do it just to make sure with the new technology we'll be compliant to the safety procedures. So all the new products with the new technology will be tested with the same standard that we manufacture with any other marine parts required. So, I can assure you that when you use a product with the new technology embedded, you should be, feel, safe. Because this technology also, like you said, it comes from automobile industry too. They have over 10 years, 20 years of proven technology, used it. Only difference is corrosion and waterproof, and that's our part. And then we do it, very, very vigorous testing to make sure it will last long and then won't have any problems.
Anybody else on the panel want to speak?
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for the time. And this is Nina, represents Summary Yacht from Dubai office. And I have a question regarding this auto driving. And I noticed that has become the trend now, because there's a lot of, I will see there's a few company and develop on that subject long time ago in China. Is that all those auto driving boats, small boats are eco-friendly? Is that good for our environment? Is that good for the sea culture? Which is a little bit like further, which is, well, once we develop, gentlemen, once this AI well developed those technology, and then no extra cost for the labor, and then I assuming that all those little boats, all those will be very economic. And then in the future, what we're considering is, do we have enough berths for the marina? So this is all my questions.
I can try to respond to part of it. Let me try and respond first to the sustainability question. And again, I'll answer this as somebody who has 50 years of experience driving boats. If I come into the dock, most of the time it goes fine. Sometimes it doesn't. I have to stop and back up, reverse, correct my course, and come back into the dock for a second time. That burns twice as much gasoline and it puts twice as many emissions into the air as if Mr. Lim's new dock gets me to the dock the first time around. So which is better for the environment? Me taking 2 or 3 tries to get it right, or if it's a windy day, maybe more than that, or a piece of technology that will put me to the dock the first time every time.
Any other questions from the audience? Thank you very much for your fantastic contribution. So your contributions won't reflect the audience here today because the videos will go onto YouTube, and I would think that they're going to become viral. I think that a lot of people in the industry are going to really be interested in what you've said today. I found it fascinating. So thank you for your contribution. It's been a really good session, and can't thank you enough again. Thank you. Thank you.